Hey, everybody. Instead of having Dusty this week, we got Jose Raymond helping co host the show. So, me and Jose had a great time. Unfortunately, it was the morning after the news about John. And, I guess we didn't really know what to say. We didn't really know how to handle it. And we sort of talked about it, but it was kind of a blur. And, we decided to leave it in because it just, I think it's how everybody felt. And, sort of unsure of what to say at the time. And so we're just going to leave it in. And, and also, too, this was recorded before there was a memorial fund for John's family. So I just wanted to do this little bit for you guys so that you can look at the information below and you can get the link to the memorial fund if you choose to contribute. John was loved by so many, and we just wanted to make sure everybody is aware of it. And on behalf of the whole family at the Think Big Bodybuilding Network, John was a part of the family over here too. He was on all the shows multiple times, supported everybody over here, was good friends with everybody at Think Big. And, every single person in the network is having a difficult time with this. So, I guess we are all in this together. And, yeah, here's a new episode. We got Jose Raymond here filling in for Dusty Hanshaw. It's just bodybuilding. I think this is episode 99.
Yes, sir.
Scott chiming in with the so you're on the Wayne Gretzky episode, buddy. And
awesome.
Yeah, the 99th episode. So it's good to have you here. And thanks for filling in for Dusty. I got a bunch of great questions and some stuff to have fun with. Obviously, we kind of got to open with something else and discuss that for at least a minute. But obviously, John Meadows passing away, just a tragedy for everybody in the industry.
Yeah, dude. This is I just want to say, when people pass on, people like to say, oh, that guy was great, or that, nobody, you can honestly say with John, I've never heard a bad word mumbled about him. Not so much as, in fact, I don't know anyone that's ever met him that didn't love him. Like it is crazy the amount of stories that are pouring out and pictures and just it's a testament to how many people he touched that he never even met in person, that he he was so much bigger than he even knew himself. And it's just there's no words that can be expressed other than gratitude of what he meant to every one of us and to the entire industry. And I'm for one very thankful that I got to meet him and pick his brain a few times and just be in his presence. He was a great man all around.
Yeah. You're right about the outpouring. We've lost some really fantastic people. Obviously, we've already been through this, but this one's been like visually shocking because of the just number of people posting and saying, listen, I have a story about John, or John did this for me, or and I want to tell a story because I'm sure other people went through it. But like yesterday when it happened, I didn't know how to, because John's like, I consider John a friend of mine. I feel like I just didn't know him. Like we trained together a bunch of times, and we had pancakes together, and we sat and chatted at shows, and walked around the Arnold Expo together and stuff like that. And I just I like, part of me didn't want to post because I felt like, well, I don't want to be like this isn't about me, but then part of me wanted to make a post because I wanted to like tell people, like, listen, like this guy was a little bit different than everybody else. And I kind of wrestled with that all day. Like, I don't just want to post like to post, it's not about, you know what I mean? That weird feeling that you get when you're not sure if you should share something or keep it to yourself. And then like later in the day, I was like, well, maybe this will make someone else. Because when it comes down to posts like that, I was think like maybe it'll help someone else out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe it'll just let someone know how John actually was to, at least to me from my experience. And so I made a post and it felt good to just see people like sharing their experience with John on the feed, and that's kind of, I think you know, the best way for those things to kind of go is, that's what you hope is that it's going to kind of make people think positively and remember the good times and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And
I read
so yeah,
yours, and
sorry.
I said I read your post, and I was pretty amazed at your ability to put words together. And you're probably the reason I didn't, because I'm not good with my words, and it would do him no justice. And I knew I would get an opportunity to speak at some point on one of these podcasts, and I was overwhelmed with all the posts I was reading. So I didn't post anything. I don't, I have a picture with me and John from a few years back at the Arnold Classic, and but I just like, some of it I was like, is this like just another fad? People are posting pictures with them. Like, is this? It was a weird feeling. I'm like, I'm not. It's not about me. It's about him and his family, and
Yeah.
we'll get opportunities to speak. It's just I'm just like, wow, it's just crazy. Every person, my phone's been blowing up now for 24 hours, and it's just even people that know nothing about bodybuilding are reading it, and that's how big he is. People who know
Yeah.
nothing are asking me, "Hey, did you know this guy?" I'm like, well, "Of course."
Yeah. So I've
You
had
know.
something interesting happen too, is I've gained a lot of followers in the last while from my little BMX world,
Yeah.
and they read my post, and then they read the comments, and then they messaged, like a bunch of them messaged, and they're like, "Holy shit, this guy was like this guy sounds like someone special." And so that was kind of cool that people in another kind of realm, that has nothing to do with our realm, just by looking at the comments and just by kind of maybe hitting the hashtag and checking things out and realizing what's going on, they're like, "Oh shit, this guy was like someone who really helped a lot of people." So when you sort of like reach other little bubbles, with absolutely no meaning to, there's definitely something to what you contributed, when
Yeah.
it's just obvious that everyone is mourning.
Yeah.
Other people from other bubbles that can go, they see it and they're like, "Oh, this wasn't just like anybody." So yeah, I don't know, that was kind of interesting for me. But I just, again, the family, the kids, wife and kids, I just hope they're, all the best to them. And, there's going to be a lot of people that knew John a lot better than I did that are going to have a lot of great things to say about him. And, you know, I got one of the main things, I put up a question thing, and like half the questions are like, tell a Meadows story. So the deal was everyone knew Fuad was probably going to win the show. So they're saying winner of the show buys pancakes, right? So Fuad wins the show. So we know we're all going to Denny's for pancakes. And I remember John was like the most excited one. Like everyone was grabbing their bags and John was like, "Okay, like we're all going, right? Like we gotta get those." Like he was, the whole pancake joke and him and all the t-shirts with the pancakes on them and all that stuff. Here it was, like midnight after a pro show, and John and I, neither of us place very well, so like, but he was just super happy. Like he was over it, and he just wanted to go for pancakes, and he was like really excited, and he wanted everyone to come. He's like, "You're coming for pancakes, right? You're coming for pancakes." Like he was like that. And I remember his wife wanted talk to the judges. She's like, oh, we just got to talk to the judges first and just see what they have to say. And then as soon as they were done, he's like, hey, we're going, right? We're going, and that was just something. He was like he was just super happy, positive guy. And he wanted everybody to come. I remember that. He's like, you're coming, right? Everyone's coming. We're all coming. We got to get the whole class, get the whole men's open. We pretty much had like the whole show at one table. Like everyone from, Clarita to Flex Lewis was there, like everyone, because it was the Van Pro. So we had this big table of people at Denny's at 1 a.m. But John was just super excited about that, I remember. And yeah, good dude. Well, Jose, you're filling in for Dusty.
I am.
Because he's got some busy shit this week. So why don't you let us know what's going on with Jose? You said your shoulders are fucking falling apart.
Yeah, I've been training. I mean, that's the one constant in my life for the last 35 years, and I can't stop. And eventually I knew I would keep going till the wheels fell off, and they're slowly falling off. I had a hip replacement 2.5 years ago, and I thought once I got through that, I'd be fine. Well, I've always had a bad shoulder, but it was never debilitating. It never stopped me from doing things. And just a few months ago, it caught up to me. And now I have I was considering competing again. And, I can pretty much train up until a few months ago, but I couldn't do a front double bicep anymore because my left shoulder stops. I can't crank it all the way back. And I have no external rotation there. So I basically can't pose. I can create all the muscle in the world, but I can't show it. And there's a lot more pain than there had been previously. So, that's just something you got to come to terms with as you're getting older. The pain and the mobility issues is just too much. So I'm focused more on just trying to stay in shape and enjoying working with other people and getting the best out of people, taking what I've learned over my time and helping other people. It's that time now. I have to accept that. But I don't have to look like a slob either. I still take my training very seriously. I still eat like a bodybuilder. I still train. I still do cardio. It's what makes me feel good. It's who I am. So that's where I'm at. I've been traveling
Yeah.
quite a bit since things have opened up again. I've already been to a couple shows with clients, and it's been fun. I'm enjoying all aspects of bodybuilding, not just the the contest prep, the competing aspects myself. Although I probably will diet for a photo shoot or something stupid and see what kind of condition I can get in just for fun because I love it. And it, to be honest with you, it puts me in a good mental space when I have something to focus on and I have a reason not to be a slob, not to just eat everything in sight and keep my weight. Like I'm small in my head and I'm still 220,
Right.
so like 5'4", 220 is still a big dude. But in my head, I look at myself and I'm with this kid, Nate, every day. And he weighs about the same, maybe a little heavier. And he's 4 inches taller, but he looks like a big ball of bubbles next to me,
Yeah.
He's so
Yeah.
round and he's in the peak of his look. So I'm like, Jesus, this kid is huge. I feel small. And I know I'm
Right.
not small, but it's a mind fuck, I'm used to being, when I used to be off season, I'd be 240, 245
Oh
and not
yeah.
fat, but that's not healthy at my age. There's no reason for me to be much heavier than I am. In fact, I should probably be a lot lighter. So,
Now, have you had your shoulder scanned or anything? Like, do they know
oh
exactly
yeah,
what's wrong with
my
it?
doctor said I need a replacement. It's
So it's
bone
just
on
general,
bone.
like bone on bone. Okay. So it's
Yeah,
not the rotator cuff, it's like the actual joint.
exactly. I'm sure if they went in there, they'd find some shearing away of the rotator as well. But the main issue is that I'm bone on bone. I have a big bone spur that's really limiting my mobility as well. So
Yeah.
it's a mess. I mean, it's been going on for as long as I've been training. So it is what it is. I'm going to train as long as I can and do what I can, get as much out of it as I can. You know, like 20 years ago, a hip replacement was like a death sentence. You know,
Oh,
now
it's crazy what they
my
do.
hip is like brand new. My doctor said you have no limitations. You know, if you want to squat 500 pounds, by all means. He's like, don't go for world records, but if you used to squat and you used to do these things, he's like, do it. You know.
Yeah.
So, and he said it's going to outlast me. He's like, this thing is going to
Oh
be
yeah.
around for 50 years. So,
Yeah. What, isn't it titanium?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So I would rather wait until they get a little better at shoulder replacements, because if I get one, I'm still going to want to train. I don't want to do like, you know, Dave Palumbo's doing. He looks like he's 130 pounds after a shoulder replacement. I want to be able to still train to some capacity.
Right.
So,
Is he
you know,
not
I'll
supposed to
wait.
lift at all for a while? Like they told him not to
You,
train?
you're really not. And pretty much never do anything overhead, no pressing movements. And I'm not down with that. I want to
Yeah.
still train one way or another. And I'm sure if I
Yeah.
wait like a year or two, they'll be better at it. And you know, I won't be as limited after. Once, like with my hip, I only got it replaced because I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't sleep. It was really painful.
Yeah. You couldn't even walk around the Olympia. What, you had a cane,
Yeah, yeah,
didn't you? Yeah. Yeah. Fuck.
yeah, yeah. And now it's great. So I'm sure I'll be the same way. I will wait until I can't take it anymore. Then I'd get the replacement and work my way back to some sort of normalcy. But you know, it's a total mental like mind fuck, and that's the only word I can say is I'm used to be able to only like honestly 3-4 months ago I was pressing 180s, incline
Yeah. I mean, I
pressing
saw you training.
180s.
I saw you doing really heavy inclines on Instagram like not
Yeah,
long ago.
I'm sure that didn't help things, but I was feeling okay, and then out of nowhere I started having neck pain. It was running down my trap. My fingers were going numb. So I finally went and got an X-ray, and the doctor was like, "Oh, you need a replacement." He's like, "I don't know how you're doing anything that you're doing right now."
Right.
So it is what it is. I'll get through it and you know, enjoy my life moving forward.
Hey, one of the things that I've said a few times on the show is that my favorite part of life right now is that I'm training in the gym relatively pain free.
Yeah,
And,
that's huge.
obviously I'm not lifting like, I'm not lifting the poundage as I used to. And there's certain movements that I've just completely dropped, like I just
Yeah,
abandoned them because they have no purpose to me at all. Um, but as far as like, living the bodybuilding lifestyle and being able to get in the gym and, challenge myself, I'm relatively without pain or hindrance at all. And that took a while. Like it took a while, I blew the quad, and then, that whole time my shoulder was like really bothering me on a lot of stuff, like for a couple of years off and on. And, I've got like a bunch of fucked up stuff. Like my one lat kind of atrophied. So then my shoulder's not as stable and no one can figure out why. So I just have to like compensate when I'm pressing and try to make sure I stay straight and don't go crooked. So there's a bunch
yeah,
of stuff I have to do to just train smart. And the body doesn't work like it used to. But I mean, I still like, I look great. I'm in great shape. I'm surprised how much muscle I still have on my body. I thought I would be way skinnier by now. Um,
yeah,
and, the way I'm eating, I'm able to keep my body fat really low and, just feel good. You know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
just took a while to be pain free, but I have no doubt that you'll get there. You'll just figure it out. Then the body will do it. It'll go where it has to go. It's just
Yeah.
dropping certain movements was one of the huge keys for me. Not trying to
Yeah.
force things like, oh, I got to do this movement.
I have the exact same issue you just described with the lat atrophying. It's because you have a shoulder issue and your lat is guarding, so it's not stretching and opening up the same way that it used to, and
Mm-hmm.
it's clearly smaller and not as strong. I can't row the same on that side. If I'm doing a seated row, I feel like my right arm pull harder.
Right.
So I've just had to lighten everything and just focus on contractions and making sure that it's getting blood flow in there,
Oh
and
yeah. Try and
lots of
force it to open
stretching.
up. Yeah.
Right.
And get it moving. Yeah. 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 I know the deal, buddy. There's a whole bunch of
Mhm.
dudes out there our age that are like, oh yeah, these guys are just like, they know me. And then there's a whole bunch of young guys that are like, fucking talk about something interesting.
Yeah, right. Well, it'll be interesting to you in 15 years.
That's
You can
exactly
look
it,
back on
right?
this and say,
That's
damn,
exactly
they were
it.
right.
I remember being so dumb when I was young, for pretty dumb for a smart guy. I remember seeing this older dude come in the gym and he had a great physique. Like he was, I mean, this would have been back in the early 90s, but he had a physique where like anyone in the gym would have been like, wow, that guy's 50.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I remember watching him come in and like incline a plate and a half for reps. Like he did all his sets with like a plate and a half on the incline, and he was doing
Yeah.
like 80-pound dumbbell rows. I remember it vividly.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, what a pussy. How did he get all that muscle with those pussy little weights? That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. You must be all genetics or all drugs. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then you get
Yeah.
older and you're like, oh, wait a minute. He like built that muscle for 30 years with heavy weights, and now he's training smart and safe. And you understand, like, just the
Yeah.
lack of understanding when I was young, what's he
Yeah.
doing? Plate and a half? What a joke.
Yeah. You want to live to train another day. That's it.
Yeah. And here I am.
Yeah, we all have those guys in the gym. We used to laugh at them
Yeah. Like, why
because
is
they
he
were
trained so
smarter
light?
than
And then you
us.
realize that he's being smarter than you. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I got a bunch of questions if you want to hammer some questions, man. This is
Let's
how
do
we
it.
normally do it. I thought this would be a good one because you're the same class as me here. What's your most memorable 90s supplement?
90 supplement.
Remember
Oh,
all
Nitro
those
Tech.
things that came. Oh, Nitro Tech.
Right? That was
When the Muscle Tech protein came out.
yeah, they were all the muscle tech stuff because my brother had a contract with them, and of course, Ultimate
Oh,
Orange, um, yeah, the Nitrotech. What was Nitrotech, the one with the creatine? What was
that
the
was
one?
Celtic.
Celtech, yeah, and they had like 75 grams of sugar in it.
Yeah, it was just pure dextrose mixed with creatine, and they were just selling
Right.
it for like $100 a jug.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so funny. It was the ultimate markup.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
I couldn't
everyone
afford
remember.
supplements.
Well,
I took
remember
whatever
everyone
my
started
brother
buying.
got.
You remember people started going to the wine aisle and buying bags of dextrose for like $5, and then just making their own Celtec. I remember when everyone realized what was in it, they would just go buy sugar and just make
Wow.
their own Celtec. Yeah, yeah. That's funny.
Holy
I
shit.
they that was a powerful time though. I remember when the androstenedione, the Androtech came
Yeah.
out, and it was like, oh my god, is this stuff as good as steroids? This might be as good as steroids. And everyone was like wanting to try Androtech. And then Mark McGuire, that
It
was the
was in his
fucking
locker.
product, was in his locker behind him when he got interviewed on TV. And somebody
Yeah.
looked it up and they're like, this is kind of a, an unregulated like steroid-like compound, and that's what started the entire baseball steroid scandal. People forget it all started with a bottle of Androtech in Mark McGuire's fucking locker. That whole thing.
Yeah. I think that
The
was
whole
planted.
thing. Oh
I think
man.
he did that on purpose because he was
Label
shooting
out.
Deca and everything else.
Oh
Like, oh, it's
man.
androstenedione Dion. I can blame it on that.
Right, right. Yeah, man. It was a funny time. And it was him and Sammy Sosa were doing the fucking home run war that year. That's what was going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what a crazy time that was. Yeah, so Androtech was huge. And then I remember Ultimate Orange. I remember being super disappointed because the Ultimate Orange in Canada didn't have the ephedrine in it because they couldn't ship it across the border with the ephedrine in
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So the Canadian formula wasn't the same. You know what I mean? And so we had to like try to get our hands on the American Ultimate Orange if you want it. But we didn't even realize that it was just the ephedrine. We just knew it wasn't the same formula.
Right.
Yeah. Do you remember?
Now it's
Do you remember
backwards.
when? Sorry.
We can't get ephedra here in the States.
Yeah. Now it's different. Yeah, we still
Yeah.
have it. We still have it.
Yeah.
Do you remember the 25 milligram dimetadrine 25s, like the original
Oh, yeah.
ephedrines?
Yeah.
So, what was your experience with those?
I didn't take supplements. I never did. I would only like when my brother was sponsored by a company, he'd let me try some of it, whatever. But I was never into supplements. I was like, I could barely afford a can of tuna. I was like, I couldn't afford supplements. So I'd have some
I
protein powder, whatever my brother had.
I
So
remember.
let's say he was sponsored by Muscle Tech for like 2 or 3 years in the late 90s, 97, 98, 99,
Yeah.
something like that. And shit, I was in high school. So I certainly couldn't afford supplements. He would give me like some liver pills and be like, "Yeah, try this." It was so
The
disgusting.
desiccated liver. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, it
funny.
was
I
gross.
remember when dimetadrine 25 came out, we didn't realize what ephedrine was. Like, we didn't realize that it was a straight amphetamine, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was like, oh, you take one of these before you train. That's just all we knew. And
Yeah.
we would take them and just be fucking wired, man. And we'd have these killer
Yeah.
workouts. Like, that was the king pre-workout. I remember I started taking 2 on leg day, so 50 milligrams of ephedrine, and I'd be just dripping with sweat when I got to the gym, and just vibrating with
Yeah.
energy because you're already like a jacked up kid who's just wanting to kill himself in the gym, and now you take 50 mgs of ephedrine and you're just like, fuck,
Yeah.
And I remember like
Remember
realizing it
Vanadyl
wasn't good for
sulfate?
you. Yeah,
Do you remember
Vanadyl.
that?
Oh yeah, the blue pills.
Yeah.
Yeah, supposed to make you more insulin sensitive, which apparently it does kind of do, but it just takes massive doses.
What was
So
the
yeah,
stuff? What was the stuff that a lot of guys, I took it a few times before I went on stage, and I would turn like bright purple and my veins would be coming out of everywhere. I I tried it a couple times. Um,
wasn't wasn't that niacin?
yes, yes.
Yeah,
I
or
tried it a few times and I turned bright
yeah,
purple. I'm like, never again.
yeah, and it made you itchy. It can make you itchy.
Yeah.
Um, I remember. Did you ever take glycerol for like vascularity? Did you ever
The
take
little
glycerol?
packets.
Oh, maybe yeah. It could have been. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think they
remember there was
came
a
in little
thing.
little packets. They're like a gel.
Yeah, yeah. I remember there was some stuff that was out to you'd take it before you went on stage or before you trained to try to like get a better
Yeah.
pump. It was like some of the original pump formulas. You know what I mean?
Yeah. As
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got in better shape, I didn't need all that shit. I was vascular anyway. And if I did use it, it would like totally blur any detail that I had. It would just be veins everywhere. So I stopped
Right,
trying to make my veins stick out.
right, right. Yeah, just some salt. If I have some salt and sugar together, because I'm like, I say pretty lean now. If I have like salt and
Yeah.
sugar, holy fuck, I get veiny as fuck. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like scary. I'm like, holy shit.
Old man veins.
So yeah, the old man veins. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting the thinner skin as I get older. So, um, okay. Oh, this is a question that we did it last show, I think, or 2 shows ago, but I want to ask you because it's a great one. The the freakiest thing you've ever seen in bodybuilding in person. If you had to pick, freakiest thing you've ever seen in person.
Oh man. So there were a few.
Because you've seen everything, right? So,
Yeah.
and the context
Um,
matters, you know, like
yeah.
where were you and how young were
There's
you
like
and all that.
probably three. One year, I remember being like, I got Flex. I got him. I'm looking at him because he's not pumped yet. He's not posing. I'm like, he looks a little soft. And then I was laying down on the floor, and he was standing right next to me. And then he started pumping up, I think, with Neil. And they started putting some shit on him or whatever. And he flexed his hamstring. And his hamstring had a bicep, like a peak coming out of his leg. And I'm like, oh, fuck this. Like that was the freakiest. Because it wasn't just a cord coming down. It was a
Yeah.
while he was standing up straight. And that stuck out in my mind forever. His hamstrings were like literally like biceps, like a big peak to
Yeah.
his hamstring. And then one year, I think it was probably 2015, we were all, for some reason, Phil always hung out with us, the 212 guys. And we'd all be hanging out, and then he would start getting pumped. He'd stand up, and he lifted up his shorts, and he looked in the mirror and hit his legs, and it was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Like how deep the separation was, but how round. And people don't know that. They like think that Phil isn't known for his legs. When his legs were at their peak, nobody could match him with that. And I remember asking him, like, holy shit, can I take a picture of that? He's like, no, man, no. He's like, I'm saving this for the stage. Because it was so mind-blowing how freaky it was, and how thin his skin was, and how striated every last bit of it was. And, you cannot tell by photos how crazy he was. Just nuts.
And
And
there's
then,
also nothing like backstage lighting sometimes.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
like that's just a different, like most fans don't get to see you guys, the Olympia guys, in that backstage close quarters environment. Because
Right.
that's on stage is, you're presented the illusion, right? The ultimate illusion.
Yeah.
But backstage, just walking around under those lights, it's like, wow. Yeah. It's like just
And
more
I know
real.
what I'm looking at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen pretty much everything. So when I see something that's off the wall, it stays with me. And I was
You
blown
remember,
away like a fan
yeah. So
backstage.
you said in a third one, you said you had a third one you were going to mention.
The third one was probably my first experience with Hadi Chupin in person.
I was just going to tell this
First of
story.
all, we all weighed in, and I think it was me, Flex Lewis, Hadi, David Henry, and we all weighed the exact same. Now,
And where
either
was
the
this? Was this
scale
in
was
Korea?
broken. Yep, in Korea. And we all weighed in at 209, and he looked 249. I don't know how that was even possible. And just every last part of him was striated, from his pecs to his shoulders to his quads, with crazy deep abs and just everything. And, pound for pound, inch per inch, he had the most mature, round, full, thick muscle. and he's not even that short compared to me. You know, he's probably 5'6", and but he was mind blowing. He looked like a statue, everything carved. Um, that year, he still had kind of a weak back double by for him, you know, compared to every other shot. But you know, he's improved that significantly since. But it certainly stuck out in my mind of the most impressive uh, mature muscle. And I could have sworn I thought he was 40 years old. Like that much mature muscle takes years and years and years to develop that. And apparently he was only in his early 30s. I think he
Yeah.
was 31, and I thought he was 41. And yeah, those three are the three most impressive things I've ever seen in person. You know, as far as just
I remember
quality.
seeing Hottie at the Van Pro. Remember?
Yeah,
You were here for
yeah,
that. And that
I
was
was
my
there.
first time seeing him in person, right? And
Yeah,
obviously he was mind-boggling on stage. And I thought he won the Van Pro that year without even having to pose, which was really
yeah.
crazy to me.
You know
But
what's
I just
funny?
remember backstage, like I couldn't believe, like he was backstage standing with Hani. And I
Yeah,
remember like 2 days before that, he was at my gym,
yeah,
and he stepped on the scale, and I was standing right there with Hani, and he was 230 or something like that,
yeah.
right? And Hani's like, oh, you know, he's got his clothes on, and he's, you know, got some meals and water in him, and he's 230. And then I remember seeing him backstage, and I remember thinking, how is he not 250? Like he looks
Yeah,
250
yeah,
walking around like, and I was like, he's not a small guy. Like, you know, he's not tall, but he's like big.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that was surprising. Some guys got those, I guess, what do you have, bird bones?
yeah. I did a iron debate with Dave Palumbo and Chris Cito and Dennis James, and they were all talking to me like I was crazy. They're like, "Come on, dude, he's a 212 guy." I'm like, he not only will he place top five at the Olympia, but he could win. And they're like, "Oh, shut up! You're just saying this because you're a 212 guy." Nobody had him in the first call out. They were all like, "No, no, there's no way he'll make first call out." I'm like, I've seen him 3 times in person. I competed against him twice, and then I saw him in Vancouver, and he just keeps getting better. I'm like, he's bigger than everyone. I'm like, he's not. It's just he's shorter than everyone, but he's bigger per square inch of quality striated muscle than any one of them. He's not going to get out muscled by anyone. You know,
No,
even Rami, you could argue that he could beat Rami because he's so much more dense and harder and striated than Rami is. Obviously, he's 100 pounds smaller or whatever, but yeah, everyone was making fun of me, being like, "Oh yeah, yeah, whatever, Jose." And sure enough, a few weeks later, he's fourth at the Olympia. You know,
yeah, that's funny. Speaking of guys sizing up, what do you think of the Derek Lunsford footage, the
it's
guest
nuts.
posing clip?
I sent him that footage that he's been
Oh,
posting of his posing routine.
yeah.
He's like, "Where the fuck did you get this? I just got off stage." So a friend of mine, Ryan Walters, was there while he's guest posing, and the minute he recorded it, he sent it to me. And I was like, holy shit. So I sent it to Derek. And I said, rumor has it you're going to Texas to go beat up on Kuklo. And he laughed. He's like, where the hell did you get this? He's like, I literally just got off stage. And then within honestly 20 minutes, Hani had posted it and he had posted it on his Instagram. So I saw it before anyone. But
So what'd you think?
I think he's nuts. I think he should do open. I think he should, in the condition he's in right now, if he dropped his water and went to Texas, there'd be a lot of broken hearts. I'll tell you that.
Jesus.
He would be hard to beat.
He looks like
He's
he's a
very hard to
diazide
beat.
away from just smoking people.
Yes. Yes. I mean, whose back double, whose rear lat spread looks like that?
They were
You know?
nuts. I so like when I heard that he hired Hani, I remember thinking like, oh, this is someone that Hani could probably run with like crazy,
Yeah.
you know, and and fuck, I was blown away. What could he weigh?
I bet he's 230, 235. I I do have my concerns with him making 212 and keeping that roundness because his legs look awesome now. And they did last year too, before the Olympia. And then he flattens out significantly. But I think Hani knows how to control that a lot better than his previous situation. So I think he's going to go one shot at it this year. If he doesn't win, he's got to go into the Open because I can see him winning most shows this year. That
So
I think he would have.
I have to say something because I've seen a bunch of stuff online like, oh, good thing Lunsford switched coaches. He was, blah, blah, blah. People sort of saying stuff. I don't even know what his other coach's name was. No offense. I just wasn't really following. But people saying, oh, good, he finally switched coaches and stuff. But I think that's a little bit unfair because obviously the other coach knew how to get him in shape and look fucking nuts because we all saw the 1 week out photos, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
making weight is a fucking like sometimes like certain people like what does he have to like drop 12 pounds to make weight and the legs go flat and then how many hours can you fill a guy out? It's sometimes it's just like so hard on a physique that
mm-hmm.
it's I'm that's the thing about when I was like how much can he weigh like to make 212, do you, because his back double bicep, when guys their lats get so thick that they go out from their armpits like 2 inches before they start to
Yeah,
round down. So he does
yeah,
his back double bicep and the lats don't come down under the armpits. They go out for like 2 inches and then they come
yeah,
down. And
yeah,
I just that's what you lose when you like force dehydrate and sauna
yeah.
yourself down 8 pounds and suck the life out of a physique. So I just hope that like that isn't an issue because I mean
So
I'd
you're
love to
right,
just see him walk
100%.
on stage.
I've spoken about that in the past as well. His coach was James Brown, and he was a guy that came up with him. He used to go into like a nutrition store, and James worked there, and he was like, "Oh, I'll help you," and he certainly helped him. He brought him all the way up the amateur ranks and into the Olympia, and I just think the pressure got to be too much. He's had 3 or 4 attempts, and the results weren't what he was looking for. So it's not like he went just sidestep to another coach.
No,
He went to arguably the best track record in history. So you can't blame him for that. And I'm sure he has a ton of respect for James Brown, and as I do. I think he's a nice guy, and he did a great job with Derek for sure. But
yeah,
as you said,
I'm
this
glad
is
that you have
making
all
weight
that
is a different
info.
ballgame. Yeah, huh?
I'm glad that you have all that info because like I thought it was unfair to see some of the stuff I saw, as people don't understand, you know what I mean?
Right.
They don't, yeah. And I just thought, fuck, that guy's obviously a really good coach. I mean, Lunsford, fuck, all those pictures of him on the turf at M140 or MI40, it's so
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I just want to see him like, do you think it's a mistake that he hasn't like hopped in an open show at some point just to see? Like,
not yet, but yes, it will be a big mistake if he doesn't moving forward. If I were him, I would win if he wins the 212 Olympia. Even if he wins, I would go do an open show afterwards.
right.
And if he loses or doesn't win, he should go right to a 212 show. Fill out, be bang on within a few weeks, go do something overseas and win.
You
because
mean
he
an
can
open
win.
show? Yeah,
Yeah.
you mean an open show?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
give up if he doesn't win the Olympia, even if he's third, second. I wouldn't do 212 again because he should be winning. You know what I mean? It's just too much of
yeah,
a drop for him. The
yeah.
whole idea
It's
of bodybuilding is to be your best. You know, it's not to keep sucking down. And I mean, even if he wins, he can't be better next year. You know, because he's still growing. I
yeah.
would I would win it and then move up. Try to win that one.
That video impressed the shit out of me. I
Yeah,
mean, damn, damn.
that's why.
Okay, I'm just looking for another good one here. Um, what's one piece of advice you'd give your 21-year-old self?
Hmm. 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 Probably don't constantly go for records. You know, I was always pushing the boundaries of trying to get stronger, 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 rather than really learning to connect with the muscle. You know, I was training way too heavy for way too long. And it wasn't until I was forced to really learn to connect with my body in my later years. And in fact, I made better gains later on in my career by really connecting and not just heaving weight. You know, I was always going for for records, always trying to beat a previous best, and that was a mistake. I would learn the technique where you feel the muscle the most in the 8 to 12 range, um, and not just going for weight. I mean, that's a pretty
Yeah,
simple one, but it's true.
yeah, I would completely agree with that. So I think that people focus on progression before they have mastered execution. So
Yes.
whereas like mastering execution is progression, and they forget that, right? You know, if you
Yeah.
do 8 reps with the weight, but then, 6 months later, you do 8 reps with the same weight, but with better form, that's still progression.
Right.
But people are just focused on loading progression. And they're, maybe 5, 10 years down the road, their form is still only 80% what it could be, but their
Right.
loads are 120% what they should be. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So they're
Yeah.
20% heavier than they should be training with 20% less perfect form. And that's what wears and tears on things, I think, over time. And I would do the same thing. Like, I wouldn't change anything about my intent or the way I trained, like, the way I trained mentally, or the way my workouts looked on paper. I wouldn't necessarily change that, but I would just try to remember that progression isn't just about adding those little plates to the machine every time. It's also about, like, you know,
Execution.
like, yeah, like I remember, I never really played with like I always did the same negative for everything. Like I did a controlled negative,
Yeah.
but I didn't like play with it at all. Now I play with it. Like sometimes I'll do 4-second negatives on the hack squat. Sometimes they're 3, sometimes they're 5. Like I'll play with
Right.
that as a variable. Whereas back in, like, when I'm my younger years, the only variable was load. You
Right.
know, so yeah, there's more to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, um, what's the number one thing? Here's one for you. Came in late. What's the number one thing you learned from your brother?
Ooh. Man, there isn't the number
How
one
old is
thing.
he, by the way? How much older is he?
He'll be 52 in August, in a couple days. Tomorrow. He'll be
What's he
52
doing now?
tomorrow. He's unbelievable. He's 5.5 years older than me. And honestly, the number one thing I learned from my brother was to be humble. There's always someone better than you. You know, growing up having him as my older brother, I knew I couldn't match him in anything. He was taller, bigger, better looking, smarter, all of the above. In football, he was a better football player. In bodybuilding, he was a better bodybuilder. He had prettier girlfriends. He had everything that I didn't have. So you're either going to be miserable your whole life or learn to be humble and accept your graces and work hard. You know, nothing's given to you. That's the
What,
bottom line.
what's he doing now?
He's training people. He's got a nice setup at his house. He built a little garage in his house, a gym in his garage. When the pandemic hit, because Gold's closed, he lives out in he was training at Gold's Venice for 20 years.
Well,
And then
yeah,
that happened.
he's been a piece of furniture at Gold's Venice.
Yeah, yeah. But he's doing great. He's doing actually better than I'd ever imagined, you know, under those circumstances.
So for those who don't know, we're talking about your brother Tito, obviously. Um, it's hard to believe, but you have a better looking brother. Very difficult to believe.
Yeah.
So what was the first memory you have of him being like a bodybuilder? Because he was obviously ahead of you on the curve.
Yeah, when he did his first show right out of college, and then he started getting magazine offers right away, photo shoots on the covers of magazines, and everyone was talking about him, and everyone and anyone. He was a hot commodity, and you know, I knew he was a stud right away. He was always in good shape, but you know, once he hit his mid-20s, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, he had the hair too.
Yeah, and everything I don't. Yeah,
I remember seeing him at Gold's Venice and like saying hi to him because I knew who he was, you know, just like as a
yeah,
kid when I would go down and visit, like, oh, it's Tito
yeah,
Raymond, you know? And like I
yeah,
just knew him because like he was on the cover of magazines and he was famous. Like I remember seeing him and Mike O'Hearn in the same day at Gold's. And like,
yeah.
holy shit, Mike O'Hearn and Tito Raymond. They were both
Yeah,
like,
they
you
were
know,
trading partners for like 10 years.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I remember just being like, holy shit, they're both here, you know?
yeah.
And then I
Great
remember meeting
guys.
your brother like way later at the Olympia one year. Like just like I think he was sitting behind me in the stands or something like that. I
Yeah,
was like, hey Tito. So yeah, he's a good guy, man. But yeah, it's I just love the story about how you guys both crushed it in the industry, you know?
yeah,
It's cool. It's like, you know, two brothers that make the NHL or two brothers, you know what I mean? Like you both just you made the magazines, you did all that shit. It was cool. One more quick one before we go. Uh what were your thoughts on Tampa, Iain winning?
Um, I love Ian's structure. I love his mentality, his training. I watch his training videos more than anyone's. Um, I want to see him fix a couple poses, that front double, the rear double. Um, I wasn't there, so I can't tell the conditioning. I'm very happy for him. He had a few guys that were close. That guy Philip Klahar was damn close. So the good thing is that he just won a big show, and he has things he can correct to be better. So that tells me he can be even better than he's been. So that's a good thing. I'm certainly not bashing him. He has some corrections he can make and move up. It wouldn't surprise me if he made top 6 this year for first call out. He's that good. But he needs, you know, obviously like anyone, you can always be better. That was a great show and a great win, and I love that he's going on to Texas because you know, these guys one and out are crazy. Make everyone work for it. If you can win 2 3 shows and make some money for your family, go do it. God bless Ian.
Fucking take those checks, man. It might like who
Yeah,
knows when the ride ends? Who knows when your fucking hip goes, right? Who knows
yeah,
when the shoulder says no more?
yeah.
Take those checks. Yeah, yeah. Good luck to
Exactly.
Ian. I agree with you. Yeah, I love the multiple shows. Flex Wheeler used to cash in on everybody's fucking dreams, and so did Kevin Levrone, and so did all those guys. You know, they'd circulate and just take all the fucking first places. I love
Yeah.
it. So we need some killers in this game, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Go get it.
Okay. Thanks, Jose, for coming on and helping us out this week in lieu of Dusty. And I'll let you go, buddy. Remember,
My
it's just
pleasure.
bodybuilding.
Thank you.